Hi, everybody. Okay, so at this point, we've talked about mitosis, copying all the DNA and divvying it up to make two identical cells. That's used for repair, for asexual reproduction, and for growth. It's for making more body cells, okay? Whether you're getting bigger because of those body cells, or you're repairing them, or asexual reproduction. Those cells are identical to all the other cells in the body. Now we're going to turn our attention to something very similar, but for a totally different purpose. We're going to start talking about meiosis. Now, to understand meiosis, you're going to have to understand something about chromosome numbers. So we're going to start with that. And everything that we're going to talk about today should help you understand meiosis when we get to it. All right, so let's start with this. Every cell in your body, with the exception of some that we'll talk about really soon, have the exact same number of chromosomes. That is when your DNA is no longer a jumbly mess and it's put into short sticks. Once you do that, there's a specific number of chromosomes in each cell. And remember, every cell is identical, and so they have the same exact number, and you have exactly the same number as I do, and every human being has the exact same number of chromosomes. That is, when the DNA is taken out of a jumbly mess and put in sticks and you count them up, it'll be exactly the same number of chromosomes in the nucleus of every single cell of our body. Okay? Now, for humans, that is 46 chromosomes. So if you took one of my cells, right, put it on a microscope, squashed it, and looked at the chromosomes in a dividing cell, you would see something like this. There would be 46 of them, and they're each with their copies. So if you look at this X, it's really one chromosome and its exact copy attached to it. Okay, they're sister chromatids. So there's 46 of them along with their copies in this picture. Okay, so that's humans. And every cell in my body, except for some that we'll talk about soon, and every cell in your body, except for some that we'll talk about soon, have 46 chromosomes once they're taken out of chromatin and put into sticks. That's not the same as other organisms. For example, a chimp has 48. Now that might surprise you. You might be saying, wait, why does a chimp have more chromosomes than a human? Aren't we more, I don't know, evolved or something? Now, putting that question aside, because we really aren't more evolved, we're equally evolved, and we'll talk about that when we get to evolution. But aside from that issue, the number of chromosomes has nothing to do with how complex or simple an organism is. And this is why, if we go back and look at this picture, you will see like a little section, like that black band of a chromosome might be a gene. Maybe it says tall, okay? Now, a chromosome could have tens of thousands of genes or just a couple. And so the number of chromosomes has absolutely nothing to do with how many genes you have or how many traits you're encoded for. So don't think that the number of chromosomes has anything to do with complexity. It doesn't. So a human being normally has 46 chromosomes in every body cell. A chimp has 48. And just to bring that point home, a potato has 48. So if you take every cell of a potato plant and you squash it and look in the microscope, it'll have 48 chromosomes. Now, nobody should think that a potato is actually simpler than a chimp or you or me, because they can make their own food doing photosynthesis, which means they have even more complexity to their cells and need more genes for that we don't have. But that aside, okay, there are 48 chromosomes in a potato plant cell, every single cell of its body. Here's a crazy one. There's a fern, right? Ferns are plants that have fronds. And I'm going to pause and get a picture of that for you. So here we have the adder's tongue fern. That plant, if you take every cell in its body and look at it, each and every single cell has 1,262 chromosomes. And to think, some scientist actually counted them all. Scientists have some interesting jobs, right? A fruit fly, the poor fruit fly, can fly, has plenty of interesting traits. It's got 4 chromosomes. Now, the reason that I want to make sure to bring up the fruit fly is that when I give examples in class, I'm going to use a fruit fly a lot because I only have to draw 4 chromosomes, and I don't want to draw 1,262 chromosomes. So the fruit fly is useful for our purposes. So That's the chromosome number, okay? Now, they actually exist in pairs. That is, if we took all the chromosomes in a human cell and we looked at them very carefully, we would find that there's actually two of the same kind of chromosome. That is, this long one has an exact mate that is very similar to it. It's the same length. It has genes for the same traits. They're not identical to each other, but they are similar to each other. And the word for similar is homologous. So they exist in homologous pairs. So if you took these little ones, you would find that there's two of this particular kind. And on that chromosome, if there's a gene on one of them for eye color, then on the homologous chromosome, there's one for eye color. So since there's 46 chromosomes in a human cell, that means there are 23 pairs, right? So we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. That is, the 46 chromosomes can be arranged into 23 pairs that have traits about the same things on each of the pairs. And chimp, 24 pairs. The potato, 24 pairs. The fern, 631 pairs. Okay, and the fruit fly, 2. Again, making it a very useful example in class. So for example, here's a fruit fly cell. And if we saw a cell at the point when the chromatin had become chromosomes, we would find it had 4 chromosomes. And this is 1 with its identical copy. That's 2 with its identical copy, and 3 and 4, each with their copies, okay? That is a typical body cell, and there are 2 pairs. They are 2 homologous pairs, and what that means is that A is homologous to A prime. That means if we look on this chromosome right here, maybe there's a gene for a fruit fly's eye color, which might be white. They have white eyes or red eyes. So maybe there's a gene right there for white, right? And then over here, they would have a gene for eye color as well. It might be white, it might be red, because they're not identical to each other. They're just similar. Maybe wing length is a gene for wing length is on B. And maybe it means long wings or bent wings, I should say. Wing shape. And then on B prime, there'd be a gene also for wing shape. Maybe it's straight, maybe it's bent, right? They could be the same as each other or different. These homologous pairs are only similar to each other. They have genes about the same traits, but they don't have to have the same gene for that trait, okay? So the normal amount, like 46 chromosomes for us, we would say that cell is diploid. That is, there's 2 of each type. Di means 2, right? So there's diploid. That is 2 chromosomes of each type. Most of the cells from the top of your head to the tip of your toes, it's diploid, just like we've been talking about. 46 chromosomes. 46 chromosomes in every single cell. It's diploid. There are homologous pairs. If I look at that cell, I will find that there's 2 genes for eye color, one on one homologous chromosome and one on the other. They might both say green eyes, or one might say blue eyes, and one might say green eyes, okay? But they are about the same trait. And I have 23 pairs in that cell, 46 chromosomes in my diploid cell. Some cells, some special cells in our body have 1/2 of that. Every single one of those pairs, there's only one. Doesn't have the homologous. So in those particular fancy cells, there's only one gene about eye color. It's either green or blue, if in my case. Okay, that's it. That's all there is, right? So those special cells only have 1/2 of each pair. There are 23 chromosomes. And we say, because there's only 1/2 of each pair, it is monoploid. So for example, and the other term for that is haploid. So for example, I can have that fruit fly cell, right? It had A and A prime. A has a gene for eye color. A prime has a gene for eye color. B has something for wing shape, and B prime has something for wing shape. That's a diploid cell. It makes up most of the body of the fly. A monoploid cell in that fly is only going to have one of each. It's going to have a gene about eye color and a gene about wing shape, along with whatever other genes are on those chromosomes. But it's only going to have one. The other pair is not there. And it doesn't have to be this pair. It could be this one. Or you could have an A and a B prime, or an A prime and a B, right? But 1/2 of each of these pairs. Now, none of these cells would be B and B prime. We wouldn't have 2 of the same chromosome and none of the other. Each of these cells have a gene about every single trait, but only one, unlike this cell, which has 2 for every single trait. This one has 4 chromosomes, and monoploid cells have only 2 because it's 1/2 of each pair. So in us, our monoploid cells, our special fancy cells, have 23 chromosomes, 1/2 of each pair. So to look at it in a slightly different way, haploid or monoploid means there's only 1 of each type. Diploid means there's 2. So there's 2 of the short ones, 2 of the medium ones, 2 of the long ones. Monoploid or haploid has 1 of each type. Okay? Now, why does that matter? Well, if we go back and look at this slide, we will see the special cells that have 1/2 of each pair are sex cells. So imagine a sperm from a fruit fly has an A and a B. And an egg from a fruit fly has an A prime and a B prime. When they fuse, they're going to make a diploid cell, a baby, with the normal body number of chromosomes in a body cell. These are sex cells, okay? And so any sex cells are going to have 1/2 of each pair, and the body cells are going to have 2/2 of each pair. And when there is sexual reproduction, the fusion of one haploid or monoploid cell and another one makes a diploid cell, a baby, and that's how we have sexual reproduction. So this is all about sexual reproduction. Monoploid cells are sex cells, and diploid cells are body cells. We'll pick up on how we make monoploid cells next time.